I think, I believe the Vince Russo was doing the stuff then. I mean, they had the idea about the midget and all that. That's the one I remember. But I mean, obviously back then we were, huge on board for it. I mean,
I think I got us
those
down
of
there.
you who may not know, I find it very hard to believe. I was way, you think I'm obnoxious now.
Is there any way to get that dude to move back? My brother can't even see.
I can see.
No, don't be naive, Shawn.
The original idea, I believe,
Was he standing
Russo or someone
guard
board,
for
he
something?
was the one doing the majority of the creative stuff.
It's alright. I'm just curious on what they're thinking.
As for me, did it bother me? Maybe a hair or two, like it bothered me a little bit, but I think the whole thing bothered me a lot more than that. So, I mean, I don't know, I remember watching it at home and I can't say I didn't feel bad when I saw it. I thought, I was always thinking that I have a better ending than the one I had, so I can't say I liked it, but at the same time, there could have been worse shots they took from that one, so. And I always knew Shawn had a fetish for midgets. Little people.
Like from a childhood memory of mine, just so you know.
Please state your name, where you're from. Kieran from Perth, Western Australia, 12,755 miles away for anyone playing along at home.
He wins.
Last personal question. In light of Bruno going in the Hall of Fame this year, which in my opinion is well overdue, are there two people that you both feel are also deserving of a Hall of Fame spot and haven't yet got in?
I mean, what's your question? No, that's just, are you asking,
just if there's anyone, any wrestlers that deserve to go to the Hall of Fame that haven't yet, like Bruno so much, or anyone in your opinion?
okay, gotcha, yeah. No, I mean, I think everybody's probably, feels like Savage ought to be in there.
I can't do much of the Hall of Fame without my brother Owen.
Yeah!
Bulldog would be another one. Macho Man's another one, like Shawn said. I mean, I can't picture a Hall of Fame, WWE Hall of Fame without Randy Macho Man in there. He's for sure one of the greatest of all time. So.
Sir, where are you from? My name is Derek and I'm from Chicago. And sorry, I'm very nervous. Forgive the cliche question.
Right.
I just want to know who are some opponents that you guys have never faced that you might have wanted to face.
Kurt Angle, Rock.
No.
Let them
Kurt
answer.
Angle comes to mind. I would love to wrestle Cena. I would love to wrestle him. I'd like to wrestle him in my Attitude Era with when I was sort of a bad guy with the Hart Foundation days of Owen and Bill Pillman and everybody. It would have been, to me, he would have been the perfect hero to work against. And I just wish I could have worked with him one time just for that reason. I would have had to make the best match Shawn Cena ever had.
I think most of my guys would be, older guys. I mean, I don't know how many people would know, but I mean, for me, it would be, a guy like Harley Race. Yeah. Guys like Pat Patterson or Ray Stevens. Those are guys that were just before their time. Way back when. So I mean, honestly, Ricky Steamboat would be another guy. For me, it would be more the guys that I watched growing up. But I never had a chance to get to know them.
Thanks so much.
Your name, sir, where are you from?
My name is Matthew. I'm from Ohio. And my question is, I know that you both respectively are icons in the industry and come from very different backgrounds, like Stu Hart's Dungeon. And my question is for both of you, what was your hardest obstacle early on in your careers? The biggest roadblock to get past?
I mean, for me, I'd say coming here. Obviously getting, to the WWE. I think both of us. I mean, Bret and I both started back when there were still territories and things like that, and then the WWF at the time, and, they got big, and this was the place you wanted to get. So obviously first, getting here is tough, but then honestly, I mean, I think it was trying to, get them over the whole, you're not big enough thing. That was, I know both of us dealt with that certainly sometimes. So for me personally, I would say the thought that was here in the WWE and just trying to get, that stigma of, you had to be 6'5", 285 to, to be on top of the WWE.
I think for me, probably the hardest part, for me was, like Shawn said, was getting big enough, in those days. It took me a long time to get over 200 pounds. I remember it took me forever. And then when I finally got to be 200 pounds, that was like a big breakthrough for me. But it's funny how you think about those kind of things and you realize how they weren't really that important in the long run. But in your beginning, when you first start, you worry about everything. I remember when I first wrestled, and the very first time I walked out in the ring that was probably the hardest thing I ever did, just going out there the very first time and being heckled and, having no tan and having no muscles. And, it's kind of like, when I think back to those days, I realize how much guts it took to do it. It was like, it was very, you had to really suck it up, keep along for it. And I think when I think back to, like, say, my wrestling for 6 months or maybe the first year, I don't think it was kind of downhill after that as far as what my fears were. I always thought I had the talent, but I just was looking for the breaks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm Nathan from Manhattan. My first question is for Bret. The story is that you wanted to go after Montreal, you wanted to go to Mad Hour and get the belts and go and work for the company. Were you honest to your word? Like, would you have actually given the belt up there and said on TV? And for Shawn, you've had a bunch of great matches, both of you respectively. What was your favorite? Like, what do you think was your best? And what was your career defining match?
Well, going back to, what was your question again? I was always good for my word. I didn't have any reason to suddenly lie, tell them what's good am I getting with the belt at home,
Picking my favorite has always been, most difficult question I get. I mean, I was really fortunate to be a part of some, extremely special matches. So pinning it down to one is always tough. I mean, you go back to your first match ever, which is always special. Then, the ladder match with Razor is special. Obviously, my hour match with Bret, the first championship is special. So, I mean, for me, it's very tough to pin it down to one. And I guess I would go for a career-defining too. I think the one, certainly the one where everybody at least started to take notice of me and believe that I could, that I could be a top guy would have been the ladder match in WrestleMania 10. I think that's the one that at least got me, noticed, in the eyes of the company, more so than any other match.
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
Justin Johnson from Bronx, New Jersey.
Hi man, thank you.
I have a question, sort of for Shawn. Shawn, when you came back after 2002, obviously you had a big lifestyle change. Your promos back in '97 with Bret, were kind of, pretty personal. I'm just wondering, after you came back, was there certain stuff that you told WWE that you didn't want to do anymore, like those, risque promos back then? With your promo in 2005, I mean, were you against being a heel when you came back?
I wasn't against it. Yes, to your first part of the question. Yeah, I mean, there were certain things. I can remember. It wasn't too long being back, and I just didn't want to be doing much cussing. I mean, I was still in the process of one, being, new back anyway, and certainly wanting to earn, the trust of guys that I've worked with in the past. So, yeah, I did. I put some limitations on things. And as far as the heel in 2005, I wasn't opposed to it in the respect that I didn't want to be a heel. I was worried that I wasn't going to be good at it, and they wanted me to you know, what I was told was that, you know, I want the HBK from 1997. And since he's, I mean, you can't, I mean, nobody wants that. You know, and you know, I don't consider myself a great actor, and so I'm not, you know, really into it. It's not going to be any good. So that it was easier for me to go more of the comedic role with the heel persona. That's something I can do. You know, I'm silly by nature, so that was something that I could do. But no, I just didn't think that. You know, it's like when I come back now. There have been times that, you know, I've given a promo where they want me to say that, you know, losing that match is the hardest thing that's ever happened to me. And you know, for 3 years I've been miserable. You know, I'm not. You know, I mean, I can't do that. So we have to. Yeah. You know, but we have to, you know, we have to alter that a little bit because I can't go out there and say that it's been miserable being home for the last 3 years because of the greatest years of my life. So, you know, so point being, you know, I still want to, you know, do a good job as I tried to do in 2005. And it was also the idea that I was going to be a heel for whatever it was, like a month. And then, but no, we want you back. It's not easy to do. You know, you don't just turn it on and turn it off like a light switch and expect to keep any credibility. So I had to be very delicate. So I mean, I was at least, you know, hands-on with it and you know, did the best job I could. Plus I knew, you know, no matter what I did, there were certain people that weren't going to be happy with it anyway. But that's, I guess that's the long and short of it.
Welcome to Nashville. Where you from? My name is Bret. I'm from the Bronx, New York. Just want to have your opinion on, you know, fantasy matchups. That's like the theme now of WrestleMania. If you both weren't out of retirement and you could work with somebody currently on the roster just to put on the best wrestling match or steal the show, which you both always do, which talent would you like to work with if he wasn't out of retirement and you could go one more time, which I think we will all love.
And then that's, you're asking on the card, that's this Sunday, who's the one, somebody on the card or that's current on the roster?
Yeah, anybody currently on the roster that you just like the in-ring work afterwards, and who will put on the best wrestling match with you guys if you still have one more match to work as a fantasy match?
Well, I think for me, just like I said a few minutes ago, a fantasy match would be, when I was a heel, with that, when I had that USA Canada stuff going, I just can't imagine when I see John Cena, well, he would have been ideal, he would have been perfect. You know, because I wrestled him right after the Patriot, and it would have been, it would have fit right in. I mean, I just know that I have a lot of respect for John Cena, and I would love to have worked with him one time. And also, I relate to his fact that he's been a hero for so long that people are starting to turn, the tide's turning against him. But anyone that knows John Cena knows that he can't ever be anything but a good guy. You know? But in my case, being the good guy that I was and having trouble with that same problem where the crowd was starting to get edgier and wanting a rougher kind of style and stuff. And then I started to give that character, I was able to switch and kind of revert back to my old Bret the Hitman Hart character that I was with Jim Neidhart. And in saying all that, I mean, I think Bret Hart and John Cena doing a babyface match would be really brutal, maybe. But Bret Hart, the heel against John Cena, would be one of the great matches of all time.
I guess I'd probably put Punk and Brian.
Thank you.
Your name's Shawn, where are you from?
With Staten Island, New York. I wanted to ask you guys about how do you feel about the current state of the WWE programming as opposed to the Attitude Era, maybe even in the early 90s? What you guys like about it, what you don't like, and what you would maybe do differently? You know, like you feel it's too much interviews, talking, like snatches.
Yeah, I think it's way too much. I can't already take it Monday nights anymore. Stop talking and start wrestling. You know, I just. It wears me out. I think that I tip my hat to all the wrestlers today, like Punk and Bryan Daniels. Is it Daniel Bryan? There's such great sort of innovators. They come up with new stuff, new moves. And a lot of wrestlers come up with new stuff and new moves. And I'll be honest, when I finished wrestling when I retired in '99, I did every single move that I could ever think of. I remember like lying in bed and thinking, I can't think of anything else to do. Like not one single new move. And I remember those days, and I wasn't in it much longer after that. But when I look at it now, it's like I could rip off all kinds of these new guys. And I tip my hat to all of them. They've been very imaginative. It takes a lot to create something. It's hard to, I don't want to bore anyone with all that stuff, but wrestling is just a square with some ropes around it. It's not like Broadway where you got all these backdrops and different sets and stuff and all the stuff, pageantry that you get with Broadway. It's tough to go out there and create something fresh and new that nobody's seen before, and I'm proud to say that I did it night after night after night for a really long time, and I'm proud of it. That's why I was always so proud of my legacy and my career. It takes a lot to come up with anything new in wrestling. I mean, they've been doing it since the 20s or something like that, and the stage is still the same. You got a referee, maybe lucky if you got a ballet or a prop of some kind, and that's about it. Maybe a bulldog or a parrot. Off you go, and the rest is up to you to figure it out. And I thought of all kinds of stuff. When I watch stuff, I think I was the first guy to ever drop a leg drop. And I don't remember anybody ever doing a leg drop. I remember it for years in Calgary, and then when I got to WWF, Hogan was doing it, and it's like, even the front turnbuckle. I don't remember a wrestler, when I used to watch the wrestlers when I was a kid, nobody ever took a front turnbuckle. I was the first guy that I remember ever taking it. I know for a fact I was the first wrestler to knock those big steel stairs over. But it's like I could sit there and go on about all these little things that I thought of first that nobody thought of, and it's really difficult to do. And I tip my hat to all the young wrestlers today for doing that. They've kept wrestling alive with their creativity and imagination. And like I said, Punk is probably the first one that comes to mind to me for a guy that's just been very creative and innovative, and that's why he's where he is. And it's nice that you, the wrestling fans, appreciate that about the young wrestlers today.
Yeah!
One of the other things is, they're challenged by, a ton of TV shows. I don't know, there's Raw, there's SmackDown, there's Main Event, there's Superstars. I don't know who else is out there. It's tough to come up with fresh stuff. Other than that, and people get mad at me or they think I'm doing it on purpose, but I don't watch much. And I do that for a couple of reasons. One, for 20 plus years, I've missed a ton of TV shows that I want to catch up on. To watch, and that's 2 or 3 hours of my time. I'd like to see what else is out there in the world. And the other thing is, I want to feel the way about this business that I always felt. I have no desire to become some guy that's whatever, whining about whatever. They're challenged by things like we were challenged. It's just going to be a different time. And I guess at the end of the day, it's irrelevant, what any of us think. They're going to run this industry the way they want to run this industry. And who's ever working for them is going to have to adjust to that and do the best job they can. So, that's why I rarely give opinions on it, because it's nothing but somebody that used to wrestle and it doesn't make it right. But plus, again, the guys that are there, they're just working their butts off. They don't set the ground rules. They get dealt the deck, they get dealt the hand, and they play it.
Anybody, where are you from?
My name is Tyler, and I'm from New Jersey.
What's your question and for who?
My question is for Shawn Michaels. When you were dressed up in the white Undertaker suit, were you trying to intimidate the Undertaker or to make fun of him?
You know what, I was doing a little bit of both. I was hoping maybe, he doesn't intimidate much, but so I was mostly just sort of, being the contrast, sort of being the opposite of him, and hoping that maybe he might be impressed. He wasn't. So, and at the end of the day, he beat me up, and so here's a lesson to you.
We got about 3 minutes, then we're going to do the second portion of the autograph. So your name and where you're from.
Hi, I'm Monet. I'm from Newark, New Jersey. My question is for both of you. An aspiring wrestler, and I was wondering what was the most important part of the beginning of you guys' career? Like, what kept you motivated and going through all the hard times?
I think Shawn and me had similar kind of beginnings. Like we humbled ourselves, worked in small territories, and I know we never made any money. I know I'm working for my dad. If you've ever worked for your father, it isn't the most profitable place to wind up. But in saying that, I think, I can't speak for Shawn, but I think what was more important to me in those days was respect and credibility, and just being able to go out there and know you had a good match, and having one of the wrestlers come up to you and tell you that you had a good match, especially a veteran and respected come up and tell you that you had a good match. And I was lucky, I think, in the sense that I grew up with wrestling, and followed it as a kid, and I had a good understanding of how it worked when I got into it. And I was lucky, I kind of got the hang of it pretty quick, and I have a feeling that Shawn was probably the same, that it didn't take him that long to get the hang of it in a lot of ways. I bet you in a lot of ways Shawn was as good as he was the first 6 months as he was at the end of his career, and I think, I was always pretty good as far as just sort of the natural ability of taking my falls and landing, how to protect myself, and I think that's what's most important to me was just the respect for my peers and knowing that in my own heart that I was as good as I thought I was.
For me, I have to say, as far as what kept me inspired, nothing kept me going. I was so, I couldn't get enough of this job, so I didn't need any inspiration. I was so ate up with wanting to be a wrestler that wild horses would have been able to keep me away. I loved everything about it. I did, and I probably continued. Okay, are we interrupting you guys over there? Are we interrupting you guys? Sorry about that. But yeah, I did do it for free, and I didn't tell them. I wanted to do this, since I was a kid. From the day I started to the day I stopped. So from that aspect, I couldn't get enough. And the rest, I guess the biggest thing that I did, I asked a ton of questions. I bothered all the old timers like crazy, and I would, I picked their brains. I bothered them a bunch, and thankfully for me, they were flattered by it, and that was probably the best thing that I ever did was kind of sit in the back of the cars with a lot of older guys and did a lot of listening. Believe it or not, that was the time in my career where I didn't talk all the time. And those beginning years were unbelievably special because I had back in the territory days, you met so many different guys, and they had traveled to so many different places. There were a gazillion different styles out there. You could go to each one and talk to them and pick their brains and take a little bit from each guy, and before you knew it, you had your own style. And it was something that was different, and that's a little more difficult to do now. So for me, that was the absolute greatest help that I ever had was get Bob and those older guys.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this time we're going to start the autograph portion of tonight's event. Thank you to, let's give a hand once again to Bret the Hitman Hart. The companions, those of you with the companion wristbands, those are the pink ones, please stay in your seats during this autograph session. And the rest of you, we're going to start in the back row and we're going to work our way up. And for the autograph portion, we will dismiss you by row.
What's that, buddy?